This is basically comparing two strings. It's basically comparing two strings, and whenever you're comparing two strings, you can't do this. Now, even though these strings are the same, Java is going to say, well, they're not the same, because remember, strings are objects, and whenever you're comparing two objects, object 1, object equals this object, even if these objects have the same contents, they are not the same. Because this object may be stored in a different location in memory, and this object may be stored in a different location of memory. And what the Java compiler is doing is going to take that location in memory and say maybe the location in memory might be this location, and the location of this object in memory might be this location. Sorry, it only goes from hexadecimal 0FF111. As you can see, it's comparing these two objects, and they're not the same. They're not in the same location, so therefore they're not the same object. But the way we're going to compare two strings is this. We're going to use the content equals method. Content equals. And just the parameter is just going to be the name. Now this will check if the name, now this will go through each of the Vim object in our list of Vims, and just going to check if the current Vim that this iterator is pointing to, if the name of that Vim is equal to the name of the Vim that we want. And if it is equal to the Vim object that we want, we're just going to return that Vim object. Otherwise, it's going to go. Otherwise, once this while loop is done, and it gets to this return null, this method will just return null, simply signifying that there is no Vim object in our list of Vims that has this name. Otherwise, if we did find the Vim object, we're just going to return that and just end this method right here. Remember, once we return something in the method, the method ends there. And we're also going to make this method case sensitive, meaning if the name of our Vim object is music.mp3, we want to be able to detect if the user entered music.mp3, except this time all in lowercase, and we want to be able to say that, yeah, this is true, just to make things flexible. And the way we're going to do that is simple. In here, add in 2 lowercase dot. And what this is going to do is it's just going to turn all of the string, all of the characters in this string into its lowercase representation. And we're going to do that, and we're also going to do that for the name. And this is basically how you do case insensitive, how you make string comparisons case insensitive. And now we have all the methods that we now we have all the methods that we need in our book class. And I know that I've spent way too much time in this Vim method, but I really wanted you guys to understand some basic concepts in Java programming. So now we're ready to add a couple of new methods, or really just one method in our library class. So go on over to library.java. And all we're going to do here is add just one new method. And what this method is going to do is it's going to take in a string, the title of the book that we want to find, and then return that book object. So it's almost exactly the same as our book, what we just did for our book. So it's so almost exactly the same that we can actually just copy and paste the code that we just made and just change a couple of things. So just copy that and go to library.java and paste it. Now instead of the return type being Vim, the return type is going to be book, because we're trying to find a book object out of this list of books. And the method name that we're going to give it is getBookByName. And string name, instead of this, it's going to be book. And don't even bother changing V, just leave it as it is. The iterator that we're extracting is going to be pointing to a book object. And the list that we're going to extract the iterator from is this list of books over here, which we called collection. And this is now a book, and the method name for getting the title of the book. Remember, we wrote this in the previous videos. Is get title, and we're pretty much done. What this method is going to do again is we're going to pass in a name, the title of the book object that we want, and we're just going to compare for each of the book in a list of books. We're going to compare if each of the book that this iterator is pointing to has the same name as the string that we passed in, has the same title. We're just going to return that book. Otherwise, we're going to return null. Now we're ready to implement the actual functionality of our new features. So go on over and head to mainsystem.java. So we said that the user will be able to import and save video, image, music files, which we call Vim, into a book. And that's going to be case number 4. Again, in order to keep our code clean, we're going to create a method for what we're about to do. So instead of putting everything inside the case statement, we're just going to create a method for it, just like what we did in our previous in the previous videos. And we're going to call this method add vim. Takes in no parameters. Again, let's use the magic of Eclipse. Create method, hover around that, and it should show a pop-up. Just click it. And here it is.